Hey everybody, MichaelBtheGameGenie here, and on today's video we're going to be talking about the Mortal Kombat 30th Anniversary Legacy Edition cabinet. Somebody out in the wild has actually received their cabinet and they've been kind enough to upload some footage of the cabinet and some gameplay, so we'll take a look and see if some of the concerns we had, i.e. the screen, were warranted and if this thing is good enough to pick up. On top of that, we've got to talk about the leak that happened this week and the Arcade1Up Capcom Legacy Edition Yoga Flame Edition. I mean, we knew it was going to be Yoga Flame, but we finally got a look at what the cabinet will look like. Let's take a look at what the cabinet is, what games are included, and we'll talk about why Arcade1Up did this. All this and more right after this. That's right, guys. Today's video is talking all about Arcade1Up Legacy Edition cabinets. Of course, we've got the first one, which is the Mortal Kombat 30th Anniversary Legacy cabinet, which should already be out in people's homes. And secondly, we have the Capcom Legacy Edition Yoga Flame, which we knew about, but didn't get, I guess, confirmation on, because it's still not officially confirmed, but didn't get confirmation on until the leak yesterday. Before we get started, though, I want to say thank you so much for everybody for checking out the video. I always appreciate the support. And if you're new to the channel, this is your first time watching, you like what you see, please go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications, all that YouTube stuff if you're so inclined. Of course, of all the new Legacy Edition cabinets coming out from Arcade1Up, the one that we were all the most excited for was the Midway Legacy cabinet. This thing is absolutely beautiful. They seem to have nailed the look, the design, sans Johnny Cage being on the sign. Everything about this is incredible, and the idea of being able to play Mortal Kombat online with friends was just too good to pass up. Of course, there was one issue that had come up, and that is the cabinet was going to have a new monitor that may actually be crappier than the monitors we were used to. We found out that instead of the traditional 4x3 BOE IPS monitor that Arcade1Up had been using in previous generations, they were going to be moving to a 5x4 TN monitor that may in fact be a little downgrade compared to what we were looking at in terms of visual quality. I, of course, put up a video. My buddy Justin Console Kits did an excellent video with a lot of really good scientific research and examples of why the monitor would be a problem. Go check his video out if you haven't done so already to understand why we were concerned about the switch from the BOE to the TN monitor, specifically with this cabinet that we were all so very excited for. Luckily, as we found out yesterday, somebody in the community has finally received their Mortal Kombat 30th Anniversary cabinet from Arcade1Up. This actually looks like it's actually shipped from Walmart. You never know who's going to ship first. It's always kind of like if you want to get yours first, you always play roulette, whether you're going to order from Arcade1Up Direct, Walmart, Best Buy, what your option is. This person ordered from Walmart. He already has his cab, and he was kind enough to share some images. Now, I don't know if this individual specifically is the same one we're going to talk about, but there's also some footage up on YouTube for you to take a look at yourself. So guys, huge thank you to YouTube user Speed33 Star. Yesterday, he received his Arcade1Up Mortal Kombat Legacy Edition cabinet, and he was kind enough to show us the contents of what's in the box. So you can see there's a control panel. Looks absolutely awesome. Of course, there's some absence of some white buttons. Would like a little bit more color contrast, but that looks really good. I don't know if you can actually read any information off the image of the monitor there. I don't know if anybody has any way of contacting him and asking him what kind of monitor it is specifically. I couldn't tell from what I saw. We've got that beautiful coin door. There's your parts bag. We've got a new marquee, very similar to what was included for the Terminator 2 cab, if you're not familiar. There's the side panels, sans Johnny Cage. Everything looks really great. But it's funny because the whole time I was watching this, I was like, hey man, that's awesome. The cabinet parts that you get in the box look really cool, but you know what I really want to see? What the screen looks like. Well, luckily, I guess I'm not the only one. Someone mentioned it to him because he put another video up later that day. So guys, this is just some quick footage that Speed33 Star shot off his phone. It's hard to tell if this is the screen or if it's the lighting in the room. I'm not 100% sure, but it does look like the difference with the dark levels is consistent from a BOE to a TN monitor. But again, it's hard to tell from the footage he shot It does look like the dark levels, you can see really light down in the corner, but it might be the lighting in the room. It's hard to tell. One thing that is clear looking at this image is that directly on, the cabinet actually looks really good. Some of the concerns we had about the downgrade in quality from the BOE monitor to the TN, I feel a lot better about, thanks to the images that he's sharing here, and the color levels look really good. Of course, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and this is one of those things, just like with the Golden Tee, you got to see it in person yourself to really get a look at how it looks like. But from everything that Speed33 Star is sharing here, this actually looks pretty cool. So guys, it looks like the monitor issue might not be as bad as everybody was thinking. Of course, we knew that the footage that they had shot a long time ago was a prototype, and of course some of the issues we talked about where it was a 4:3 screen and then it repeated on the bottom, we knew we weren't going to see in the final version. Also, some of the color issues where the screen is sideways. It's nice to see that maybe they cleared these up, but again, I mean, it's a very limited sample of what we have there, so it really depends on when you see the screen in person, and we're going to need to see more feedback. But there are a couple other things that came up thanks to this video that should be notable to you people, especially you people in the fighting game community, because it appears there are a couple of key features that may in fact be left off the cabinet. Now, you guys may be aware of the controversy that came out when Arcade1Up released their Killer Instinct cabinet, because one of the things that weren't included was a lobby system, and the other thing that wasn't included was a spectator mode, and it looks like we have the exact same thing here with Mortal Kombat 30th. It looks like the online setup is kind of like what Killer Instinct and NBA Jam was. So you go into your game and then people can log in depending on who's playing. There is no lobby and there is no spectator mode. So for fans of online fighting, you're going to be missing out on that. And personally, I have to say, that is a really peculiar choice for Arcade1Up to make. First of all, I mean, Killer Instinct came out, what, like almost a year ago now, it feels like? They certainly have had plenty of leeway on how the community responded to the fact there was no spectator mode and no lobbies, and especially with Arcade1Up pushing so hard to get into the whole competitive fighting arena, and how Killer Instinct essentially was a little bit of a fail where it missed out on that, and a lot of people didn't pick up the same interest that maybe Big Blue and Marvel vs. Capcom had. It was a weird choice that you wouldn't also include spectator mode on the Mortal Kombat cabinet. I don't know why this was left off. Maybe at the end of the day it was a financial choice, as the additional resources they would have to put into the programming of adding those features, they just didn't see the return on investment for the cabinet. I don't know. It's a weird choice. Anyways, moving on from Mortal Kombat 30th, it's actually surprisingly better than I thought it would be. Of course, I'm looking to get more looks at the cabinet, looks at the screen, and we'll decide there. But from right on, the footage he shot, hey, it's not that bad. It's playable, as B-Kong would say. Moving on to it's playable, we have to talk about the leaked Capcom Legacy Edition that was revealed earlier this week, accidentally. So if you head on over to the Arcade1Up Just Announced tab under their new cabinets right now, this is what you will see. But a couple days ago, that wasn't the case. So guys, huge thank you to Bill from Bill's Retro Gaming Show, who actually caught this. He went over to the Just Announced tab, and two new cabinets were there: the Capcom Legacy arcade game Yoga Flame and the Bandai Namco Miss Pac-Man Legacy Edition cabinet. Of course, I'm here specifically to talk about the Capcom Legacy Edition Yoga Flame. Now, this is no huge surprise to me. This is pretty much what I anticipated this cabinet was going to be. If you guys watched my Chill and Chat and other shows I did for the last little while, I talked about the DimMac Arcade1Up Street Fighter Countercade, and I said, I think it's going to be something along those lines. They wanted to go in a different direction, just have some cool, unique artwork on the side of the cabinet that is really put out there for Street Fighter collectors and fanatics that don't really care about the traditional arcade look and want something different. And if you take a look at what the final image is, it doesn't necessarily have Steve Aoki's art, but it is very similar to that. So this is the first look at the Yoga Flame Edition. It's pretty much exactly what we thought it was going to be. kudos to Bill again for catching this. Like, such an excellent job reporting. I'll leave a link to his channel down below in case you didn't watch it. You can go and look at all the particulars of the cabinet there. The included games list, which is very surprising and not just a rehash of last year's Capcom Legacy. There's an entire new look. And yeah, this is the Capcom Legacy Edition Yoga Flame. So again, I'll leave a link to Bill's video. I'm not going to go into detail. The reason why we are here is asking the question of why they made the cabinet like this. Yeah, so for those of you wondering why specifically they went with an artwork like this on the side, they went in a different direction, added a whole new games lineup, and you're saying, why? Why would Arcade1Up do this? Well, there's a couple reasons, and the biggest one I think is this is the third Street Fighter cabinet we're getting from Arcade1Up in pretty much less than a year. If you look at it, we of course got Big Blue last year, which was the first online Street Fighter cab. It had 12 games, a different lineup from the original Capcom Legacy, but for all intents and purposes, this was another Capcom Legacy Edition cabinet. I mean, it even had less Street Fighter than the other Capcom Legacy. I mean, we got two Capcom Legacies last year that were pretty much arcade accurate, and I can't tell you how well either of those sold, but we're getting a pile of Street Fighter all in a row. I don't know how well these sold. Maybe Arcade1Up looked at it and said, maybe it's time to do something different. And that's exactly what the Yoga Flame Edition is. It relies on that dim mat credibility. This is more for people that aren't home arcade enthusiasts or people that aren't purists that just want something that looks really cool. And to be honest, if you go back to the Street Fighter Big Blue, to the Capcom Legacy of Arcade1Up's cabinets, they are some of the most plain. I think they're beautiful, they're arcade authentic, but they certainly are more plain than some of the other cabinets they have. I mean, all you gotta do, guys, is scroll down this list of what the Street Fighter cabinets actually look like in the arcade, and you can see there is nothing on the side panels. These were all conversion kits. Most of Capcom's arcades were. They only cared about the fronts, not really so much the sides, so there was nothing to put on it. So if you were gonna do this, this is one of the easiest cabinets to do it with. And for those of you saying, well, Arcade1Up have never done that in the past, well, so guys, here is my buddy Jason, Third Floor Arcade, or Between One Fern Arcade. He's actually getting married in the next little while, maybe even today, so go give Jason a big thumbs up and a congratulations. But if you take a look, here's his review of the Marvel vs. Capcom cabinet, which also didn't have classic side art in the arcade. And what does that look like? Very similar to what we're seeing on Yoga Flame. Arcade1Up went off the reservation here and decided to put their own art on the side of the cabinet, which is exactly what they're doing with Yoga Flame as well. So guys, essentially, I think that's the big reason they're going with something completely unique, completely different, completely custom here, is they've already released a pile of Arcade1Up Street Fighter cabinets based off the real arcade. There wasn't really much to the side, so they wanted to do something unique, something interesting for maybe Arcade1Up fans that would pick up something like that. Me personally, I don't love it. You know, I look at Arcade1Up as the purveyors of nostalgia, and that does nothing to bring the nostalgia up for me. Sure, they've got the accurate marquee for hyper fighting. I don't know about the rest of the control panel. Obviously, it's in a midway shaped cab, so they're missing some of the things there, but it doesn't do a lot for me. Some people may love it. Kudos to them. For me, I think I'll pass on this Capcom Legacy. Now, the other big reason I think that they're doing this is because there is a more accurate and classic cab coming later this year. So the fourth Street Fighter cabinet within the span of 2 years coming out from Arcade1Up. So maybe with 3 cabinets they're going to be incredibly accurate. They decided to take a shot in the dark and do one that's, like I said earlier, a little bit off the rails, which is the Capcom Legacy Yoga Flame. So what is the accurate one they're doing in the very near future? So if you guys have been following Arcade1Up, you know that they announced earlier this year we're getting bigger cabinets. Of course, we're getting a Pro Line with the first release being Killer Instinct. And I would bet everything I have in my bank account that the very next release from Arcade1Up will be another fighting game, and I've got a very strong feeling that it's going to be Street Fighter 2. And my guess is the Pro line, they won't take a chance like this. The Pro is going to be aimed directly at us more hardcore arcade enthusiasts, and they're going to make that one incredibly accurate. That's my guess. My guess with these bigger cabinets, XL is sports, Pro seems to be fighting cabinets. Time will tell, but so for those of you that are upset that the Capcom Legacy Yoga Flame isn't arcade authentic, just wait, just be patient. This might be a good thing because you're probably not going to buy this one. You can hold off, and later in the year, you'll thank me when you buy your Pro Street Fighter 2. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments, what do you think of the first look of the MK 30th anniversary cabinet? Am I missing something with the screen? Is it worse than what it looks like from the footage he shot? Do we need more footage? Or do you guys feel relieved that the screen actually looks better than what you thought it was going to look like? And does this reaffirm your decision to either purchase the cabinet or possibly pick it up in the future? And then, of course, we've got the Arcade1Up Yoga Flame Edition. Guys, let me know what you think of the cabinet. Do you like the artwork? Do you wish it was a little bit more nostalgic like I do? What do you think of the cab itself? Let me know in the comments, guys. And of course, the idea of a Pro Street Fighter 2, is that something you think is cool? Will you hold out and get the Pro over the Capcom Legacy Yoga Flame or Hadouken Edition, which we haven't seen yet? Anyways, guys, once again, I want to say thank you so much for watching today. This is Michael B. the Game Genie, and I'll talk to you next time.